But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
Beauty. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 9x9. This is episode 118. It is April 22nd. My name is Everett Delorme in Toronto. That is Rob St. Clair in Chicago. And Rob, let's see what kind of controversy we can draw up this week as we talk about the world of international volleyball. We got playoffs going on all around. We got trophies being handed out finally in some of the biggest leagues in the world. And we are going to talk. You were down doing stuff this weekend, head off to the NCAA next week, and there's so much stuff going on. But let's jump right into it with our bread and butter, the stuff that we love to talk about. And Rob, we have a series.
We do.
We have a series. You thought last week on last week's show that Monza had absolutely no chance, and not only was game one, which we'll talk about, obviously, I found it was highly entertaining. Sure, sets 1 through 2 were very interesting, where Monza was up big. Perugia stormed back, and Perugia was all over them in the beginning of the second, but Monza came back, won the third, erased a 5-point deficit in the fourth to kind of push it and make it a little bit interesting. And then they bounced back to fight off a 2-1 deficit and win it in the fifth this past weekend on Sunday. So where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about here?
So I was very busy this weekend. I watched as much as I could of these two matches live and have gone back since and watched it. And I basically have two takeaways about the first match first, 3-1. The only reason Monza won a set is because of Arthur Schwartz.
You said it, not me. So hey.
Right. So that is a fact because Eric Lepke and Stephen Marr were both rather miserably bad in this game. Ran Takahashi was outstanding, but the switch to bring Stephen Marr in off the bench won Monza the third set and very nearly the fourth. It wasn't enough, but Monza, when they don't get good games out of 2 of their 3 starting wings, it's going to be real difficult for them. Also, 14 blocks and 6 aces for Perugia. That's kind of how I expected this series to go. But then on Sunday, the comeback from Monza at home with an all-time game from Stephen Marr. And
one of his best ever.
One of his best ever. 23 for 34 attacking, blocked 3 times, 0 unforced errors, 1 ace and 4 stuff blocks for 28 points. And it just doesn't get any better than that. He was absolutely automatic. It was a joy to watch him do that. And we, like you said, we have a series. We really do have a series. So you watched this in a little more detail than me. Is there anything more about match 1 that we need to talk about, except that Marr, Lepke were bad, Schwartz was good off the bench, was a nice spark plug, but that was kind of it?
I'm actually going to push back. I think, and to be honest, when we're going to talk about it, I think Eric Lepke needs to step up in the series in general.
Okay.
I think the past 2 games have been some of his worst games so far for Monza this season. They have been 2 of his least games. I'm actually going to push back on Marr being bad in game number 1, at least to the extent that everyone thought it was. Watching the game at face value on the broadcast, I was like, "Yo, Marr, we need to get you out." He was struggling. When you go back and watch it on Volumetrics, in that first sequence in the first set where they had their 5-point lead just kind of vanish from 21-16 to ended up losing 27-25, he did get aced once and he did get blocked 3 times. However, on all 3 of those blocks, you had terrible passing from Marco Gaggini, where he's passing to the baseline and they're setting from a 6 back and he has 3 hands in front of him. I do think he needs to do a little bit better in those situations, but it's a bit of a tough one. And the exact same thing happens in the beginning of the second set when they lose that 7-point where they go down 7-2 at the beginning. Gaggini's passing was absolutely brutal. He got 33 targets in this one and passed a 1.85.
That's not good.
Which was real terrible. They bullied him from the baseline all game long, and he did not react well. And conversely, he didn't play well in defense with only 5 digs. I don't think that Mars, performance was the greatest, but like he was in a tight situation. Like none of those plays were really plays that like some of them are 50-50 balls that he's going to save on the net and someone else is blocking down. It's like, yeah, like you're getting blocked, but not really. I do, however, think that Eric Lepke needs to be better. He's made a few very uncharacteristic errors so far, and that it just needs to be a little bit better. He needs to be much more terminal. His efficiency is way down comparatively from what it is.
Well, he switched positions midway through match number 1, but he hit negative, and that's just not acceptable.
No, exactly. And even when you look at him on the series, in the 2 games, his efficiency is an 0.89, right? Which is so far from the Lepke that we've seen so far throughout the playoffs, whereas his efficiency was in the mid 400s, right? So Eric Lepke needs to be better. I'm not entirely sure that going back to him in game number 2 was the right choice. Like Schwartz, as you said, was so dynamic in game number 1 and was so efficient as well. He has over a 500 efficiency on, like, he swung over 700 with over a 500 efficiency. It was crazy. I'm not entirely sure how he didn't get the start, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you can't really criticize it because you won the game.
They did win game 2, yes. Yeah, that's kind of like you were talking about it last week, that you don't think we've seen the end of Arthur Schwartz in these playoffs for Monza, and you're absolutely right. I definitely think that Schwartz is better for the matchup. I think Lepke was for sure better for the matchup against Trentino. Obviously, they came back and won the series, but Schwartz is better for the matchup against Perugia. Perugia is a big physical banging team. You need every bit of high ball firepower that you can get against a team like that, because Perugia is so filthy from the baseline that you're going to be hitting a lot of high balls. So
that's important. So important what you just said there is that, like, you need to be able to hit high balls, right? And that's exactly the situation that Monza was getting into in those dips. And now Rand was so good early on in that first set, but was only really available in the pipe. And when that ball is being set from literally 6 back from the baseline, the pipe obviously isn't an option. I do think those 2 big sprees, like there was 2 like 5-point runs, one for Perugia to close the gap in the first, and then for them to create the gap in the second. And on a few different occasions, Kachopa had the ability to go to Rand and didn't. And there was just too much of an overload, just the outside to Lepke Amar, or forcing it to Galassi. Funny enough, like there was certain times where Galassi was being like straight up fronted, and he's still getting the ball when you had a Rand available in the gap on a pipe. So there was just a few little inconsistencies like that. But yeah, I mean, it kind of shows like what happens when Stephen Marr isn't at his best for this team. But when you go on to match number 2 and the absolute masterclass that he put on, then it was something to watch. And I mean, set 1 was very good all around volleyball from Monza. And they have this tendency now in both these matches to start really quickly. Like this one, they went like right in that first set, they jumped off into a 4-1 lead. Like Rand got a block, and then they made another conversion off of like a Lepke dig to be able to create that gap. And then they were able to go with it and to be able to win this set. After that, though, Perugia was all over, like it was all Perugia's in sets 2 and 3, and even for the better half of set number 4. And then that's when Rand absolutely changed in set number 4 with 2 back-to-back aces. And that completely changed the energy of Perugia. I was on my way up to coaching, and I was watching it on the subway. Thank God the TTC has goddamn Wi-Fi service in the subway now, so we can actually finally watch it. And I was like literally like fist pumping in the subway, and that just kind of changed the vibe of the team. Rand had been pretty sleepy. I think he only had 3 points in sets 2 and 3 combined. And once he woke up with those 2 aces and they were able to start feeding him, like he's so good in first ball side out. They just don't have that ability to go to him when like he's really good in first ball side out and below average in out of system situations, right? So when their passing goes to shit, they can't set Rand and they can't create the gaps for him to be able to hit. But then it's just like that those 2 back aces just brought them back into it and just completely revitalized their team. and they were able to battle through. Like, it was from that point on, it was such an entertaining match of just back and forth volleyball. And like I said, when Milano beat Perugia in the semifinals, it really felt that they were at their peak and they had given everything they had. This wasn't a particularly fantastic, like a particularly great game from Monza. It was a good game, but it wasn't a particularly great game. Like I said, Eric Lepke wasn't fantastic. Mars passing and serving wasn't that great. Like the connection with the middles wasn't exactly there. Like there's like Gugini is still not, like, he's not as good, hasn't been as good in this series as he was in the last series, although his defense in this one was fantastic. 17 digs for Gugenius, and in this one was ridiculous. But there's still things for Monza to work on. However, conversely, when you look at what's going on in Perugia, you're starting to see those finals jitters again. You're starting to see.
Okay.
You are. How good has Semeniuk been all year? All year, like, he has had a massive bounce back season. And if you look at him in this one, he's only hitting his efficiency is a 265. The same thing with Ben Tara. Yeah, he's been putting up points, but he's also been making some terrible errors throughout this.
He hit a lot of balls out of bounds in this game. Now, yeah. I can summarize with this, because we got to talk about Perugia. This is not exclusively a Monza podcast. I picked Perugia to win this series. I think they still will. The difference, like really the way that we've been able to summarize Monza this entire season, is when they serve the ball well, they have a better chance. And that to me is most of what happened here in match number 2. Really bad passing numbers for Perugia. 30% positive, 7% perfect is horrendous. So you're talking about in game 1, Monza passing balls to the baseline. And that's what was happening here. Ginelia just no chance to do anything whatsoever. 7 aces, 17 errors for Monza is decently good, but it's the passing numbers being so bad for Perugia that was so alarming to me. However, despite that, Wilfredo freaking Leon. Wilfredo freaking Leon, ladies and gentlemen, off the bench, passed like garbage, as he is one to do. But 22 for 29 on offense? Come on, man. 22 for 29 on offense. You've got something there. And I actually kind of like the way that Lorenzetti is moving the 3 outside hitters around. He has a very good feel for timing of substitutions. And that is a delicate art for a head coach. He has a very good feel for that. Started with Semeniuk and Plotnitsky, as we've expected. Put Leon in midway through the first, started Leon in the second for Semeniuk, then brought Semeniuk in the third because Plotnitsky just wasn't having it that day. Lorenzetti has a good pulse on that sort of thing. So I am curious to see what happens in game 3 with the outsides. I still expect Plotnitsky and Semeniuk to start, but it was really cool to see that from Leon.
I don't.
Bench. Really?
I want to see Leon start.
You want to see
you
him
put up those? You put up those kind of numbers? Absolutely, I want to see him start. He's Wilfredo like Leon. Like he's still Wilfredo Leon.
I agree with that.
And like look at the numbers that he just put up.
Oh yeah, they're outstanding. He is such a passing liability, though. That's the give and take. Obviously, do you go with the full fist's worth of firepower, or do you go with like a little more of the open hand ability to play a little touch volleyball? I would be okay with either way if I'm a Perugia fan. There's elements to both matchups that work. Same thing with the Lepke versus Schwartz conversation on the right side for Monza.
And this is why, Rob, that I think we have such an enticing series ahead of us. Like I think we have potentially 3 games ahead of us, or at the very least 2 very good games, because there's so many different changes and different looks both of these teams can give, right? Like we haven't even touched the fact that Herrera could be coming in. But someone said it in, but like someone said it in the chat there that Ben Tara looks stressed, and I fully agree. And I am going to go back to when we first found out that Ben Tara was joining this Perugia team, and my one biggest hangup is that he has no experience in final situations. He has no experience under pressure. Now, he has been fantastic all season long. Without a doubt, the best opposite in the Superliga. He has been so dynamic. The way he's stepped up throughout the playoffs so far has been great. But now on this stage, and like his numbers are terrible, right? They're
Just the
not bad.
unforced errors.
That's where it's really getting him. His error percentage is actually floating around 20% right now, which is way too high.
That's
way too high for in the finals. And this is where I think you're starting to see that that inexperience from Ben Tara starting to shine through. Now, that's to be normal. Like we said, he's never really played any finals. If he's ever played like an African Nations Cup, whatever, with Tunisia, who cares? Like, that doesn't count. I'm sorry. However, now it's going to be interesting to see, can he bounce back? Right?
Okay. I've been the Bentara apologist since day one that we found out he was signing with Perugia. I've been on the other side of this from you, Everett. I think the Bentara was an outstanding signing. I think he was exactly what Perugia needed. That plus Lorenzetti was exactly the fix that last year's collapse of a Perugia team needed. And I will remind you that for whatever it's worth, Perugia did win both the Super Cup and the Italian Cup, and I think Bentara was the MVP of one or maybe even both.
Cups don't matter.
Yeah, that's like easier for you to say. But we're also making some reactionary takes about Perugia not being able to get this done when they lost a 5-setter on the road, already up 1-0 in the series. We have a good series here. What's going to tell me how this is going to go is how Monza plays on the road in Game 3. If Monza 100%. Goes back to Perugia, what day is that? Wednesday? Thursday again? Yeah. Okay. If Monza goes back to Perugia on Thursday and absolutely can't handle it in that building, then remember, Perugia is the higher seeded team. Somebody is going to have, if Monza wants to win the series, they're going to have to win a game on the road. I'm not convinced right now that they can do that. So they will have to show that to the world on Thursday, and I'm curious to see what happens and who starts. If it were me, I would start Schwartz for Monza, and I would start Plotnitsky and Semeniuk for Perugia. I still like Leon coming off the bench.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've still got a huge series ahead of us. Like I don't think it's done. I'm not at all saying that Perugia is like on the ropes here whatsoever. But let's be mindful though, Rob, that Monza is currently 2-0 in this postseason in Game 5 situations on the road.
Good point.
Right?
So like Monza, you got to get there first.
Oh, absolutely. You got to get there. But I don't think that losing on Thursday is necessarily kind of game over. It really depends how they play throughout the process, right? But let's be honest, this is also the point that we were at in the semifinal series with Perugia against Milano. And I mean, games 3 and 4 were never in question, right? That's when they turned things on and really went forward. But I do think that this Monza team is better than that Milano team, and they have much more to give against Perugia and much more firepower against Perugia.
Okay, I agree with you there. The patterns are similar, but like you said, like that game 2 in the semis that Milano won, that was absolutely everything they had. That was the best 100%. Volleyball they could possibly play. But this one that Monza just won, that wasn't the best volleyball they can possibly play. No. Maybe they've still got it in them. I think that's a very good summary. So we got a series. I love it. I was hoping we got a series. I still am going to pick Perugia in 4, which I think I picked on the last show. I still feel decent about that. But I'm excited that we.
No, you picked Perugia in 3. You picked Perugia in 3.
No, I said if
no. I said they maybe might be able to win, and you were like maybe.
I said I could see Monza taking a match, and they did. I don't see Monza taking 2 matches. I'll stand on that take.
I see Monza taking 3.
I don't. I'm not going to make. I'm not going to make the tank top bet on it though. We'll
why not this? Oh yeah, don't do that for sure. But this has the potential to be quite possibly the greatest playoff run of all time. And like you can't say that lightly with the caliber of teams that they have beat coming into this series.
Lube and Trentino already.
Lube and Trentino, like that's. I'm sorry, but that's like beating Arsenal and Manchester United on the way to an EPL.
Thanks for apologizing for bringing up soccer. Ugh, disgusting. Let's move on. Let's move on to the women's side. Side because very similarly,
Yeah.
We've got a series. We have
We
got
got a
a
series,
series,
100%.
and both 5 setters to start the women's Scudetto finals. We're gonna call it the women's Scudetto finals. I don't care if it's not actually called
No,
that.
I've heard commentators and people who are Italian call it
Say
the Scudetto
Scudetto. Good.
finals. Yeah.
Good. So Scandici steals match 1 on the road. They give Conegliano only their second loss of the year, 17-15 in the 5th. Couldn't have been closer. Conegliano won the 4th in overtime just to even get it to that point. Razor thin margins. Very similarly, match number 2, Conegliano wins it on the road in 5. They win sets 4 and 5 to get it done to equalize the series. There's a lot to get to here. This is just as competitive as we could have ever hoped for. Feels already kind of similar to last year's final, where Malonza gave Conegliano everything they could handle. The one X factor that everyone in the Discord has been talking about that I'm curious to see if she gets more involvement, Everett, is Haley Washington.
100%. Well, I thought she was so effective in the semifinals too.
She was,
right. That's what I don't really understand is like why she's not getting the start and bringing the fire. And I know that there's been times where I've thought that she's been a little lackluster this season, but like she's really like stepped it up recently, and she's getting subbed in, and you're seeing her have impacts in small doses, just like by coming on with her energy. But you'd love to see her come on, but ultimately it's just that foreigner issue with
big issue.
with Scandici.
It's funny because in game 1, Haley Washington outscored both Scandici starting middles and never started a set. Washington had 6 and Wakalor had 4. Anna Carolina had 4 as well. Sorry, and Wakalor had 5. So yes, you have a foreigner limit constraint. Ideally, you would start Washington and Anna Carolina. But if you have to start in Wakalor, Washington to me right now is the X factor for Scandici and gives them the best chance to win. However, the rest of this team is playing about as well as they've played all season long. Like this particular version of Scandici, the way that they're playing right now, could have and should have beaten Zaja Basha in Champions League. I think definitely would have played better this team right now compared to a month ago. Ekaterina Antropova is playing amazing. 31 in game 1, and what she have in game 2, something pretty similar. Come on, stat sheet.
34.
Jesus.
34 in game 2. She was 29 for 64. And I mean, Zhu hasn't been as good at like in game number 2. She was 11 for 37 offensively. Same thing with Britt Herbots, 8 for 28. It's still wild to me, Rob. Like just taking a step back here about how much the women's game has changed and how much it is just dominated by dominant right sides.
Yeah, remember when Zhu Ting was like pretty unquestionably the best player in the world?
Yeah, 100%. We've seen it in flashes, and I mean, I always think that she's so old, but she's not really that old. But yeah, I mean, we've got an absolute series in this one. I do think that Catherine Plummer was pretty good in game number 2. Like she has really been solid throughout. Which I've been known to be maybe a little. I just expect more from Kathleen Plummer, right? Like she was such a legend coming out of Stanford, and I thought that she was truly going to be one of like the most dominant players in the world. But right now she's got 32 points between the 2 matches, which is tops.
You'll take that. You'll take
of
that.
Any of tops of any non opposite player in this series.
Yeah, Hawk. Let's see. Hawk had 34 in game 1, 27 in game 2, 61 attempts in game 2. It is truly ridiculous. Where women's volleyball is right now, you have these world-class outside hitters. Like these 4 outside hitters, Herbots, Zhu, Plummer, and Kelsey Robinson. Like those are 4 world-class players, and they are completely secondary as far as the offensive game is concerned. It's honestly pretty amazing. But with margins as thin as this series is clearly setting up to be. I mean, we've talked about these teams all year long with their identities and a couple of their weaknesses. I still think that Joanna Volosh is a much better setter than Maya Onjenovic. I still think that Conegliano has a bit of an advantage in the middle, even if Scandici makes the right choice and starts Haley Washington. I think the opposites, it's honestly a toss-up at this point. Hawk is the better player, but Antropova is playing amazing right now. To me,
Antropova is like
She's playing amazing.
we can see her evolve. When you think about her end of the season last year, where she was like kind of fighting for playing time, to what happened like over the summer. And I mean, you can talk about all of the drama from the Italian national women's team over the course of the summer, but if there's one positive thing that did happen, is that Antropova got playing time and got court time and was able to build something a little bit about that. Like, she has really grown into something, and that I don't think the decision is that straightforward necessarily this summer for who's coaching Italy again.
What
Why
you,
am I?
Tulio Velasco? The
Oh yeah,
decision
Velasco. There you go.
decision is extremely straightforard. It's
But no,
extremely
it is.
straightforward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Paula
there's no
freaking
doubt.
Egonu on
There's
their team.
there's no doubt that you go Egonu 1, Antropova 2, but that ability, like that,
Definition of
putting.
straightforward.
Yeah, but no, but like it is no longer as straightforward, because before the gap between the two of them in miles was a lot bigger, whereas now it's a little bit, it's much smaller, and there might be situations where Antropova is better suited over Gonu. So it's going to be interesting to see how Velasco manages all of that.
Yes, it will. Speaking of coaches, Daniele Santarelli is going to be the X factor in this series. He's the most important individual in this series, in my opinion, because there's just a lot of balance, and the little ups and downs of different players, different facets of either team's game are going to change, and they're going to intersect at different points. But comparing Barbolini on the Scanducci side to Santarelli on the Conegliano side, don't you dare even think about not understanding how big of a difference that is. Talking to the chat and the people watching, it's very important that you remember who's coaching these two teams. I love this series. I'm excited that it's good. I'm excited that whoever wins is going to really have to earn it. I think that's what title series deserve. When is game 3? Wednesday. Great. Wednesday, then Saturday.
Yeah, Wednesday, 2:30 Eastern time. Ooh, Saturday. Let's go. I can actually watch that one. Nice.
Good. Could be a clincher. We'll see.
Yeah. It may be. It may be. I hope it's not. I hope this goes 5. I hope it goes the distance.
It could go 5. Did it go 5 last year? Did Conegliano beat Monza in a 5-match series?
Alexa Gray, baby, one of the greatest performances of all time.
You really love that, don't you? Yeah, it was a 5-game series.
I have a character to play, St. Clair. Okay.
Yes, you do. All right.
What do you want from me?
Before we allow Everett to continue playing that character, we have to talk about a couple things. The first is that volleyballstore.com.
Well, we're doing early this week, eh?
Sure.
Only half an hour in. Let's do this. That's right. Head over to thatvolleyballstore.com. Use the code SPICY. I don't even think about the old one anymore. The old website.
Congratulations.
Yeah. But use the code SPICY to get 15% off of your entire order.
Hey, I met a lot of 9x9 fans over the weekend when I was at NCVF Nationals. There were a lot of players that came out to me and told me they watched the show, which is cool. Nice. I want to see people wearing our gear. I want to see people wearing stuff from that volleyballstore.com.
I was getting absolutely crushed behind the bar on what night was it? Friday night. I work at a speakeasy in Toronto, and I'm just getting crushed, and I look up and there's this big dude. He's like, Everett Delorme, you're awesome. I need you on Monday to tell everyone why that game 1 loss was all Rand Takahashi's fault.
That did not happen.
That 100%. Shout out to Bruce.
No way. Are you serious?
He absolutely 100%. That 100% happened. Bruce.
Shout out to Bruce, man. You need Bruce on your side as sort of like your bodyguard in the Discord against all the weebs and in our YouTube comments. Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. Because Bruce was like, he was shaking the hand, and I have like pretty big hands, like a firm handshake, and he made me feel small. 2, I'm pretty sure he was Asian. right? It gets very dark in that part of my restaurant in the speakeasy. So I feel like it would just, if I had an Asian person backing me up, it would just give me a little, it would give me, because I have been called racist in the past week more than I ever have in my life.
By complete stooges who don't understand what that term means. But yeah, shout outs to Bruce. That's incredible. That Bruce he
I was
unprompted came up to you and said that.
Oh, and I was like, it wasn't even like a convenient time. It wasn't even like, oh, he's like, like, oh, like he's not doing something now. It was like I had like chits in front of me. I was like, yeah, full on doing work. And then I went and served him drinks afterwards. Apparently they're like watching me doing it and like judging me and shit like that. But
that's awesome.
So, yeah, Bruce, I need a comment so I can verify this story. But yeah, that being said, head over to thatvolleyballstore.com and pick up your gear.
Oh, that's fantastic. Shout out to Bruce.
Of course, Ozzy's like, Bruce.
Hell yeah, Bruce. Bruce happens to be my father-in-law's name. Speaking of fathers.
Daddy.
Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy Stankovic? Oh, just look at him. I'm just going to take a moment and enjoy just how beautiful he is. Everett, are you staring at Daddy? Because that's certainly what I'm doing. So if you're new to the show, we hide this beautiful man, Daddy Stankovic, somewhere in every episode, and you'll have to try and find him and comment a timestamp of where he is. Last week, I hit him with Monza. Again, you see him there on the left side of the screen. I don't remember whose body I put him on. But he's in a good mood. Him and Monza won a game last week. I think it was either the game.
Schwartz? No, not Schwartz.
No, Schwartz is up there in the back. I cut off the other half so I zoomed in so you could see him. But I flashed this one up pretty quick. This was from the game 4 asset in the semifinals, and we were mostly looking at game 5. So it wasn't on the screen for long last show, but some of you still found it. Our friend Lifeless Vimo was the first to find it. He said, "Sneaky daddy flash at 7 minutes. Rob thinks I would miss the presence of magnificence for even a second." That's what we're talking about. That's good stuff right there. So if you see Daddy this episode, make sure you note the timestamp of where he is at, and then you wait until this episode is over and you comment that timestamp in the main YouTube comments section, and we will give you a shout out next week.
Afterwards. Yeah.
That's the key. Yeah, you're helping we're tricking you into commenting on the show and helping our YouTube algorithm.
Yes.
Also, speaking of which, Rob, give a thumbs up to this video. You have to.
Yeah.
See, 9 likes on this video? What are we doing?
Well, you guys need to be. There was a while there where we were like really being YouTubers, being like this video, and then there's people in the chat who are getting people going, but that has faded.
Well,
we need some.
As much as I hate doing that, we might have to start ramping that back up, especially as we move towards national team season.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some of our numbers, and it's been fun to watch, like, increasingly year over year, how like our numbers in national team season are always always bigger, and then our in season numbers are like they stay pretty consistent, and then national team season bump up again. So we appreciate we get consistently 2,000 views now, like over 2,000 views now a week, which is crazy incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The fact that you guys sit here and listen to idiots like us actually makes sense, because we've seen what most of you think on the Discord. And to be honest, like, yeah, it's not good out there.
There's some stooges out there, but you know that you've made it to a degree when you start getting true idiots in your comment sections. So that's a good sign. We welcome all of you idiots stirring up nonsense, because when there's debates in our comment sections, that helps our algorithm. So subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up. All that.
Literally, as you said that, we literally had a ran goat. Someone did the comments say ran goat.
There we go. That's what we're talking about. Needed that. All right, let's move on, because Everett, the Loose Liga finals are set. It is happening. It is JSW versus Zawiercie, number 1 and 2 in the regular season. It is a rematch of the Polish Cup final, which is a friendly reminder Zawiercie won that match. And the semifinals were electric. At least on one side, they were electric. The Zawiercie-Warszawa series was not as exciting. Zawiercie handled them. It's because Zawiercie is very good, and I've been trying to tell you all this for the entire year. But we had some spice in the JSW Resovia semifinal, including a fan yelling at Norbert Huber and having it kicked out of the arena in Resovia, with both clubs issuing apologies and all this nonsense. Awesome.
That was
I love
wild.
it.
I literally, like, I was watching the game on and off, and I turned it back on, and the first thing, because it was like right at the beginning of the fifth set, I think, or like it was towards the end of the game.
It was late.
It was towards the end of the fourth, at the beginning of the fifth. I can't exactly remember. And I turned it on. And I was like, "What is going on right now?"
Was
like,
mayhem.
I absolutely loved it. Once again, like, just why I think Poland's volleyball culture is so amazing. But other than, I watched very little of this, Rob, unfortunately, just due to work. I did get to see kind of that fifth set for JW. And they were just pretty dominant. Overall, just the numbers for Resovia, they're good, but they're just not great.
Yeah, well, they did what they could without Stefan Boyer.
Yeah,
and he really would have changed that series a lot, because this series was damn close, especially match number 2. I'm somebody in the chat, one of our people, one of our Polish people in the chat, let us know. There was some drama, like Gianpaolo Madej was bitching in a big way to the replay officials at the end of set 4, because JSW won it, I think 29-27, and but they got the last point on a play that Madej challenged. He wanted a block touch. Block touch was nowhere close, but he kept on complaining about it. I don't really know what he was complaining about. Anyway, this was real close. Resovia tried to do this without Stefan Boyer. I honestly think that if he had played, this at least would have gone golden set. If not, maybe Resovia wins that second match in 4, and then they would have won the series. So this was insanely close. Jean Patry was insane in game 1. He dropped 29 on 36% efficiency, which is very good in a match that long. Followed that up with 25 on 39% efficiency in game 2. Fornal was much better in game 2. And this was damn close. It hurts me, though, to say, Everett, Resovia trying to make a comeback in set 5 of match number 2. They were down, I think, 13-10. Clement Chabel went back to the line. He ripped an ace. He forced an overpass. He forced a second overpass that would have tied the game, but TJ DeFalco then hit it out of bounds. Then DeFalco promptly missed the serve that gave JSW the series. So that was tough to watch. As good as TJ was, too, because he dropped 22 in game 1, 19 in game 2. He was awesome. He did everything he could, but those last 2 plays, I'm sure, are going to stick with him and in the minds of many.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like DeFalco was just so dynamic last year and played so freely, and he was so fun to watch and so dominant. And it's the classic, like, North American type of hijinks where you sign that big contract and then you have kind of a down year and you let the foot off the pedal a little bit.
Dude, he had an awesome year. He was brilliant
compared to last year.
Season. He just made 2 really stupid errors that cost his team a series.
I think people in Poland would disagree with that. Like, from my reading of the Poland sector on our Discord, like, there was a time where TJ DeFalco wasn't starting for Resovia this year.
Yeah, he was hurt for like 4 games.
No, but like, other than that, there was a time where, like, he was not getting the start for Resovia. So I don't, like, to me, like, he was just like once again, TJ DeFalco is one of the highest paid players in the Bundesliga, and I don't know if he played like that. Like if you're getting, like, I expect TJ DeFalco to be playing on the level of a Fornal type of thing, and he's not.
So I'm not sure I agree with that. He had 139 aces this year, 0.4%. He killed 53% of his balls on the season and had 0.42 blocks per set, which has got to be one of the highest among outside hitters. I don't think he had a bad season by any means. I would have to compare him to Fornal according to the Bundesliga stats. The problem was that he choked at the end of this match. That's what I'm saying. And I don't like you or anyone else pulling out an entire season's worth of conclusions based on choking 2 points at the end of a match.
Oh,
no.
But
That is what happened.
I'm not at all pulling it from 2 points. I'm pulling it from the body of discussions that I've read through and the matches that I've watched throughout this season, right? Like, it's not coming from these 2 points.
DeFalco in game 1 of the semis, 22 points, 32% efficiency. Let's see. Game 2, 19 points, only 20% efficiency. Yeah, that's definitely not as good. Factor from the service line. Yeah, not quite as good as in game number 2. Again, he kind of gave it up for his team down the stretch. TJ DeFalco's world class. I'm not worried about.
I'm saying that he's terrible. Like, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying that he had a down year this year comparatively to last year. Last year, where he was consistently night in and night out, not only the best player for his team, but one of the best players on the court. And just like Peter said in the chat, he was inconsistent at times this year, right? Up and down. So once again, not saying that he's doing terrible, not saying that he's like a complete fraud, just saying that he had a lesser year than he did last year.
You keep pulling your conclusions from people who watch more. That's fine. That's fair enough. Norbert Huber.
I'm telling you from watching me and like from my own watching and what the fans in Poland who watch more than us watch. Yes. That's why we have the Discord there.
Norbert Huber had 9 blocks in match 2. That's sick. He had I think the number was 171 blocks total across all competitions this year, which is completely insane. So yeah, JSW wins. Great crowds on both sides, except the guy yelling at Yuri Glatter in the Resovia Arena in game 1. We obviously don't want to see any of that, depending on the content of what he was yelling.
Yeah, I mean, I was so because from things I've heard from Poland is that it's kind of a lawless land in terms of what you can say to the athletes, right? Like, I've heard some things, so that's why I was astonished when I saw this guy being taken out. But if what the chat is saying is true, and it was towards Yuri Glatter and due to his nationality, and I mean, like, Yuri Glatter's Ukrainian. Poland is very close to that situation happening over there. That to me makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And people are clowning on Yasin Luati as well. I mean, remember this? Resovia is doing all this without their starting opposite. I can't believe I'm defending Resovia. Resovia is one of the traditional choke shows in all of volleyball. You can set your watch to it every single year that they blow it in the playoffs. One, because they employ Fabian Żyżga as their starting setter, and they continue to choose to do that for some reason. The franchise is literally cursed. Probably because of the Żyżga decision. But I'm defending them because they were real damn close against one of the best teams in all of Europe, who's going to play a Champions League final in 2 weeks.
We never said they were bad.
I know. I'm not saying anybody's saying they're bad. People are throwing around the choke word against every player on the roster when they did a pretty good job against a good team without their top scorer. So tough job. Yes. And now they're going to play Warszawa in a 3rd place series, and it's a 3rd place series to go to Champions League that I actually think will be really fun to watch. And on the Warszawa note, man, I just wish they put up a better fight against Zawiercie. Zawiercie is good. I love that team. They're my pick to win the finals. I think they will beat JSW, but I wanted more out of Warszawa. This was not a good showing for them.
No, it really wasn't, especially on the left side of the court in game number 2. A combined 14 points from Tilly and Shalpuk. Your pick looks just like it was really annoying all season long to watch Zawiercie get better and better and better, and watch my pick in Zaxa get worse and worse and worse. Yeah, I mean, you're fully right. Like, I actually have a lot of respect for what Warszawa has done this year, because on paper, this lineup doesn't necessarily match up to a team necessarily like Zawiercie, but they did win the Challenge Cup, right? They beat Monza, the ranless Monza. Obviously, that's why Monza lost. And like this team is a little bit of the leftovers, right? A little bit of everyone else. And even when you look at their like one true international, Kevin Tilly, he's even kind of like a step down from Zawiercie's Frenchman in Klevno, in Trevor Klevno, right? So the fact that they're able to get to this point, I think is great for Warszawa. And I think you're right. I think that bronze medal series will be interesting because of the choke show nature of Resovia as a whole. I think I'd like to see Warszawa up in this one.
Yeah, well, Warszawa needs. Well, both those teams need redemption in next year's Champions League badly. Remember what happened last time Warszawa played up there with Anastasi at the helm being so bad. But Resovia was bad this year, and they didn't even make it out of pools. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But as far as the finals go, I'm very excited about one storyline in particular, and that is Mateusz Biniak versus Norbert Huber. Because Mateusz Biniak dropped 18 points in a 3-set match in match 1 against Warszawa in the semis to lead all scorers. And I just have so much respect for Mateusz Biniak's all-around game, and just to kind of settle the sort of the debate heading into national team season of which one of those two is going to start, if not both of them. I honestly don't know. Between those two and Kochanowski, I don't know what Grbić is going to do, but I'm really excited to see those two go head to head in particular. Same with the opposite battle, Patry versus Butryn is awesome. I love that matchup.
Two different styles,
Completely.
right? Like Biniak and Huber are quite similar in a lot of ways in terms of stature, in terms of size, in terms of how they move. They bring, like, Huber's a better blocker, Biniak's a better server. I think they're kind of chalk offensively, so I think that matchup's going to be interesting. But Patry versus Bolange is just completely
Patry versus Butryn. Yeah.
Butryn, sorry. Butryn versus Bolange last series. Patry versus Butryn. Butryn is like a brick. He's a sledgehammer. Patry is like long and lanky with skill. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch.
It's like a greyhound versus a bulldog.
Ooh, yeah. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. The greyhound versus the bulldog. I think that could be real fun. I go back to what I said at the very, very beginning of the season for Zawiercie when we did the Bundesliga preview with Adanos. I was saying, if this team has one little Achilles heel, it's out of system termination ability on the left side. Can Bartosz Kfolek and Trevor Kleveno terminate on the left side out of system? And honestly, in the matchup, I kind of like it, because JSW has Benjamin Toniuti blocking 3 rotations out of 6.
And not to mention, though, I don't feel as though, like, our Shimura and Fornal, I guess
Fornal's an excellent blocker.
No, but like in terms of their out of system play.
Oh, out of system ability. Yeah, Shimura is kind of a non-factor. That obviously is JSW's number one weakness, and something that.
But that's why it's interesting, because if I was to rank the outsides in this series, I'd go Fornal 1, Klevno 2,
Kfolek 3,
Kfolek 3,
yeah,
Shimura
definitely
4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's I really like the fact that we're getting robbed of a 5-match series in this is an actual crime.
It is bummer. Like, however, it is a best of 3 match series, which is good. No Champions League format, no golden set, none of that for the final and the third place series. It is best of 3, so that's good.
You have a potential game 3 the day after.
That part is crazy, and
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. Saturday they play at 6, then Sunday you have to play at 2:45.
Less than 20 times. Yeah, less than 24 hours later. If it's split 1-1 after game 2 at JSW, they will play again at JSW less than 24 hours later for the Bundesliga title. I don't like that. I think that's a horrible decision, but their hand is a little bit forced with the schedule, and JSW still having to play Champions League in a week and a half. So it's tough. It's tough. It's going to be tough. But yeah, both the final and the third place series are best of 3 matches. So no golden set and no meaningless volleyball. That, like, I glanced at the Zawiercie Warszawa game yesterday when it was after Zawiercie had already gone up 2-1. And I was like, wait, what's going on here? I saw a guy in the Warszawa, or on the Zawiercie side, wearing like a yellow like construction vest over his jersey to be like a fake libero, because both teams pulled the starters. I'm like, this sucks. This shouldn't be happening in the semifinal series. No meaningless sets in the final, no matter what. Just who can win 2 matches.
Okay, that's better. I like that better.
I do like that better too.
And shittiness.
Also, shout out to who I was just about to, who was I about to shout out? Shout out to Luke Lublin. Luke Lublin won the 5th place series against Gdansk, and Luke Lublin will play CEV Challenge Cup next year, I think for the first time ever in their club's history. So good for them. They're going to play a little European ball.
Well, they'll have Leon next year too.
That is the rumor. That is the rumor.
And Finn McCarthy.
Oh, really? I love that. Shout out to Finn. He
Yeah.
had a good year in the Czech Republic.
He did.
All right. Anything else about Poland?
No, I'm just stoked. This is going to be a good final.
It is going to be a good final.
I'm trying to see if my frustration with Poland is that I can't watch it posthumously anywhere else.
It is a shame that there's no on demand option, at least for us North Americans.
Yeah, there's
no on
demand.
Anybody finds such, or like even just like a YouTube channel that posts baseline highlights. If anybody finds that, please send it to us. Put it in the Discord.
It would be much appreciated.
100%.
Ideally, at least baseline highlights with sound, and I'm not talking about a track. I'm not talking about someone puts out like some. We don't need Titans volleyball out here, making me feel like I'm in the club when I'm trying to watch game film. Okay, I listen to Tchaikovsky when I watch game film. Okay, I don't need David Guetta out here.
You know what song comes to my mind whenever I think of Polish volleyball YouTube highlight videos is "Faded" by Alan Walker. They put that song in every single Polish volleyball highlight video. You would know it if you heard it.
The Jurassic Army fan channel. What are we? Let's look this up.
Is that a YouTube channel?
Ozzy just said it in the chat.
Okay, Ozzy, put it in the Discord. Tag us on Discord. Put it in there. We would appreciate that very much. All right, let's move on, Everett. Trophies were handed out. I want to start with the faster discussion here because there isn't much to talk about. Congratulations to Halkbank Ankara. They 3-donged Fenerbahce in match number 3. They 3-donged them in the series. Halkbank wins. I think it's their 4th title ever. At least that's what how their Instagram was promoting it. But yeah, Halkbank was way better than Fenerbahce. They were by far the best team all year. Oh, no, it's their 5th title ever. Congratulations, Halkbank. Thank you for not making me have to wear the Haikyuu tank top on this show because I was that confident about them winning this series that I staked my reputation on it, and Halkbank won. Congratulations to Micah Ma'a. I'm super stoked for him bringing home some hardware. I know it was a bit of a rough year in international competition, but they won the Turkish Cup. They won the league in the playoffs. Good vibes for the boys, and good for them. And this was kind of never in doubt.
Yeah, Micah Ma'a, big shout out to Gord Perrin and Jay Blankenau, who are on that roster too. Don't think they played much down the stretch just due to, Jay was backing up Ma'a, and that was never going to be a question. And then with the foreigner limits, you're probably not going to play Gord Perrin over Irvin Ingapeth unless he's like fighting or something. So, which not off the table when we're talking about Irvin Ingapeth. I don't think he's ever done it, but I'm sure he's thought about it. Big shout out to a bunch of North American boys. This was just a fun team. I had much higher hopes for them at the beginning of the season. I thought that there was an outside chance that this team could pull off like a treble or like win a lot of trophies. Like,
yeah, they were a legit contender. Oh yeah,
right. Sure. The Champions League and at the World Club Championships, I'm pretty sure they won the Turkish Cup.
They won the Cup. I forget the Super Cup. Oh, I vaguely remember the Super Cup. It was actually a pretty sick game. Yeah, it was Ziraat Bank beat them though at the beginning of the year.
Okay, but they had a potential, but hey, they won. Finally, I feel like Ziraat Bank has won the past few years.
Ziraat Bank has won 3 in a row, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so Ziraat Bank's won every year post-pandemic, and now Halkbank is back on top. So good for them. Enough about that. Halkbank was always going to beat Fenerbahce in that series. Speaking of Fenerbahce, congratulations to the Fenerbahce women. They won a banger of a 5-match series over Eczacıbaşı. Great matches. Eczacıbaşı, with their backs against the wall, won match number 4 in a 3-dong, which was very impressive. I did not see that coming. But in the end,
I got to watch some of that one randomly, and they just served so well on that game that Fenerbahce couldn't get anything going. It was a domination from the baseline.
Eczacıbaşı had 10 aces to only 13 service errors in that 4th match, and that's in only 3 sets. 10 aces in 3 sets is ridiculous. 4 from Sinead Jack, 3 from Hande Baladin. So I assumed it would have been Boskovic, but no, not the case. Boskovic was completely automatic on offense in that game, though. 23 for 34, only one error. That's off the charts. But
that wasn't in the game that they won.
No, yeah, it was. That was game 4.
Oh yeah, holy shit, yeah,
amazing,
gross.
But unfortunately, it was not enough in game 5. Fenerbahce at home, definitely the better team. The third set was pretty dramatic. It went into overtime. It looked like it could be anybody's game. However, the last 2 points of the season, Tijana Boskovic got stuff blocked straight down. Tijana Boskovic hit a ball out of bounds for Fenerbahce to take the title. You kind of live and die by a player of that caliber when everybody on the planet knows that every point past 23 is going to her. You just take what you get at that point when that's the way that you've built your team, and it just didn't go Eczacıbaşı's way that time. Hell of an effort, though. I really think they were the inferior team. Fenerbahce should have won this series. Eczacıbaşı did about all they could, but when you build your team to have the most predictable offense in the world after point 20, sometimes it's just how it goes.
I think that this game was a mismanagement from Farhat Akbas, because the blueprint was built last year by Santarelli, Rob St. Clair.
I know
that
where you're going with this.
When you are in a game 5 situation and you have one certain former BYU Cougar, a former Calgary Dino, if you want to go back to her club days, a gold medalist from the Canada Games with Team Alberta. If you have one Alexa Gray on the bench in a game 5, you have to go to her. Alexa Gray had 8 points coming in on the off the bench in set number 2.
Yep, she was awesome. She
had 3 points in starting sets 1 and 2.
Alexa was the reason that they were in set 3. She 100% was.
I will say this right now: if they had made that switch to Alexa earlier, they would have won this one. I'm going to stand by it, because no one else could tell me otherwise.
Oh,
look,
Everett, I love you.
The chat is backing me up on this one. Thank God she came in and played well.
Yeah, right. You needed that one. That was big for the Everett Delorme character. Hey, you're nothing if not consistent. I respect you for that. And you're right. The only reason Eczacıbaşı was in set 3 was because of Alexa Gray. That's a fact.
You know what? I will say this. I do base my character off of typical American. So.
Interesting. Farhat Akbaş was getting booed in the medal ceremony. I would be stunned if they brought him back for next year. There is just too much coming up short on his resume recently. And
remember when
don't even mention him for the Turkish national team. Then you saw what Croatia did under his leadership last summer. Not great, but congratulations to Fenerbahce, their second title in a row. I'm really happy for Ada Erdem. She is so good and is so legendary, and has had such an awesome club career for Fenerbahce for a very long time, but didn't have really the elite top-level hardware to show for it because of the existence of Vakifbank over the last 7 or 8 years. But now she's won 2 in a row. I'm happy for her. I don't know if I like, but I'm interested in the angel wings that they all put on for this medal celebration. I don't know if there's a story about that anybody in the chat knows about, but yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the angel wings. Congratulations to Melissa Vargas. She was the MVP of the playoffs. Congratulations to Irina Fedorovtseva. Anna Cristina was actually the better of the 2 Fenerbahce outside hitters, at least in game 5. So good for her. But congratulations to Fenerbahce. This is a very good series. Every time I turned it on, I really enjoyed watching it.
What's next for Eczacıbaşı? Because they've been, of the 4 big teams in Turkiye, you can't deny, or wait, maybe the 3 big teams.
It's really only 3.
Yeah, THY is not a big team, but they've really not they've really kind of struggled. They haven't really done much over the past few years.
Oh, they've done nothing at all. They won the World Club Championship this year, but that was it. They beat Vakifbank in the final in kind of a weird match. Last time Eczacıbaşı won the Turkish Cup was 2019. Been a while for that one. They haven't won the league in forever. They won the Super Cup in 2020 for whatever that's worth. They haven't won the league since 2012. And let me look at other than this year's Club World Championship. They haven't won that since 2016, and then I don't think they've ever won a Champions League. So if like in this current era of Eczacıbaşı, like at least with Tijana Boskovic and the other pieces have moved around a little bit, they've won exactly one thing, and it's the Club World Championship. And whatever you want to say about that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, right now on Volleyball, they've only got 2 people signed for 24-25, and that is Boskovic and Akbas.
And the coach? Oh no.
Yep. Coach is already signed for next year.
Oh,
Oui, mon ami.
Oh no. See if they figure it out. Congratulations to Fenerbahce. They were better, especially once Melissa Vargas came back, and they gave her another several thousand jumps and swings, and we'll see how that affects her national team season. What are you doing with that weird grin on your face?
Sorry, I don't know. I just went with it. I was going to see how long it took you to notice. I thank you for noticing because my face was getting sore.
Let you off the hook there, eh? All right, let's move on to the Bundesliga playoffs, where it is a little bit spicy. Friedrichshafen out of nowhere won the first 2 games. Berlin won the third. It's 2-1 Hafen, and they're hosting game 4. What's going on here?
I don't know. I honestly could not tell you. This is wild. Oh, Boskovic not playing VNL. Interesting.
I'm not surprised. Serbia's already qualified. They released their preliminary roster. Nobody's on it. Fair enough. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. But we got to talk about the Bundesliga because Berlin, sometimes they do this. Sometimes they dominate all year long, and then they make it way more interesting in the final than it should be.
I feel like every year they do this.
They do kind of do this.
Especially in the past few years where Friedrichshafen hasn't been the Friedrichshafen. Like, this isn't like post-pandemic Friedrichshafen is not nearly what it was pre-pandemic.
Oh no, definitely
this rivalry is not what it used to be. In a lot of ways. But hey, you know what? Anna Drava is rumored to go to Berlin next year, so maybe things will even out. But right now, Friedrichshafen in Lebadu's last stand are up 2.
That's right.
They're up 2-1 in the series. Tim Peter and Mikael Superlak have been real good.
Superlak's
so
having
far.
himself a series, man. 20 for 36 in game 2 for 21 points. Hafen won it 3-1. That was
18 for 45, although he did get blocked 9 times in game number 3. Timothy Carl decided to wake up in game number 3. He went 16 for 31 offensively with 6 blocks and an ace himself for 23 points to lead Berlin to the 4-set win. But
I have a call out, Everett.
Oh,
Marek Schotela's got to play better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Marek Schotela's got to play better. He was not good enough in games 1 and 2. He was better in game 3. 15 for 37 with 4 aces. That's very good. His offensive numbers are still not good enough. If Berlin's going to come back and win this series, which they could, very possible. They do this, like you said, they do this garbage just about every year where they are a better team and then they make it way too interesting in the final. If they came back and reverse swept the series to win it, I wouldn't be surprised. No. Marek Schotela's got to play better. Got to play better.
Also, I was wrong. It's not Hadrava going to next year. It's potentially Jake Haynes, which I like way better.
I think
Haynes
that. Yeah.
Way better. Yeah, I think Haynes is way better than Eric Sosa.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that. I rate them pretty similarly. I like Marek Schotela a lot. I certainly like him more than Matej Muzaj or Jan Hadrava. Those 2 absolute clowns. I would not want to watch either of them play Champions League next year. But Jake Haynes in Champions League playing for Berlin, I'd watch that.
I'd watch that a lot, especially after the season that he had. Like he's just been stuck on relegation.
Right, 2 good years in Poland.
Yeah, he's been putting up some good numbers. So I want to see what he can do. And also, Berlin has a really strong culture of having North American based right sides. And I'm going to put an asterisk and put Paul Carroll into that group because he is a Pepperdine Wave. I know he's Australian, but that's still
counts.
He's pretty. Like if you're Aussie, you're pretty much like half North American anyways, and going to school in California, like we're gonna call Paul Kara North American. So yeah, I like that for Jake Hansen.
Shout out to Paul, one of my first NCAA players that I was ever aware of was when he was at Pepperdine, just kicking everyone's ass up and down the West Coast.
I agree. I fully agree. You're right. He was one of the first like YouTube videos that you could be aware of.
Yeah.
About guys online. Him and Danny Kinda.
Oh man, do you think that kids these days know about Danny Kinda?
No, they don't. They don't, and it frustrates me. It pisses me off. Man.
We got some required viewing for you for you people in the Discord. If y'all don't know about Danny Kinda, it's the only thing that Clayton Lucas does on his commentary that I actually like is he makes Danny Kinda references.
Bro, I made Danny Kinda references to the people I coach, and I don't coach. I coach adults. Like I coach some people who are older than me. It's like a lot of like mid-20s to mid-30s, some into their 40s that I coach. And I made Danny Kinda references. And I'll bet these are all people who took into volleyball later in life. Right. That's kind of the goal for it. I'm not out here coaching kids, people who played club or college or university and stuff like that. No, I'm helping the people who just go out on Sundays and like to play with their friends. And none of them knew Danny Kinda.
Heartbreaker.
But they know you and I. They don't know Danny Kinda.
Well, now they know. Now they're going to go find it on YouTube. All right. Tomorrow is Bundesliga Finals Game 4. It is at Friedrichshafen. If they lose that match, it's over. Berlin will win the 5th match at home in the Max Schmeling Hall if it gets there. By the way, the crowd in the Max Schmeling Hall in Game 3, unbelievable. So good. So good. So if Berlin can win on the road tomorrow, I think the series is theirs. And I'm going to somebody in the Discord, we'll try and figure out a way to watch this game. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Someone in the Discord who has the DIN volleyball just needs to stream it for us in the Discord.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right?
That would be
awesome. That would be much appreciated. We'd love to be able to watch this game. I don't work tomorrow, and this is the only game that's scheduled.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the Marmara Spike League out of France. The finals are set. It is the number 4 seed against the number 7 seed, which is ridiculous. Congratulations to Saint-Nazaire for making it to the final in the first time in their club's history, which is awesome. They beat Tourcoing in the semis 2-1. But my heart breaks for Chaumont. My heart breaks for Chaumont. They were the best team in France all year long. And they went up against a Tours team, and Chaumont did choke sets 2 and 3 away in that second match. But I still think, as much as I love Luciano Polonsky, that pickup is bullshit, and that rule needs to change.
I don't feel bad for Chaumont because the Chaumont team did the exact same thing to Montpellier team that I liked a few years ago when they went out and picked up Pretty Boy.
Filippo Lanza. You think Filippo Lanza is that much of a difference maker?
Back then, going from the Italian, like he was a starter of the Italian league.
No,
putting up once again.
That was when he played for Skra, I think.
No.
That was definitely after his prime. Definitely after. Either way, you should not be able to pick up a player in the semifinals of the playoffs.
No,
that is not how sports works. That is not how that works.
Agree. It is a garbage rule.
You think that Rasovia would have liked to go and pick up like freaking Igor Kliuka or somebody to replace Stefan Boyer in the semis?
Lanza played for Monza that year and then went and played for Chaumont.
Well, Lanza played for Monza?
Yeah, he played for Monza in 2020, 2021.
I did not remember anything about that. I love Saint-Nazaire. I think we both do. They've got a bunch of North Americans. I was looking at some of the match reports. Let me see. Their third match, the do or die match, Jordan Schnitzer 11, Kyle Ensing 14, Jordan Ewert 13, and Quinn Isaacson set the team. So the North Americans are going to play for a title, and I hope to win.
Love that a lot. So much love for all of that.
All right, let's see. Tours Chaumont. Let me look at these numbers. Oh man, such a tough break for Chaumont. They actually caught a Booba on a game where he hit a lot of the balls inbounds. He dropped 20. He went 20 for 35.
Okay.
So quite rare for a Booba to hit that many balls inside the court. So unfortunate. Pat Gaspin had 17 in the middle. That's massive. That's very impressive. Yeah, not enough. Bummer for Chaumont, Joe Worsley, Mike Marshman. I wish they would have pulled it off.
Nice. Yeah. By the way, I'm sorry, I went into a Lanza deep dive.
Oh yeah.
He started for Monza that year alongside Daz Ronak. David Skiva came off the bench for them. Galassi was in the middle with a certain Maxwell Holt and a young
What?
Addis Lagumja was on the right side
Who
for that.
set that team?
The setter for this team would have been Santiago Orduna.
Oh my goodness.
And
Oh, I don't
also,
remember this team existing. What a fascinating team.
yeah,
Wow.
and they got fourth in the regular season back in 2020, 2021.
I do remember Addis Lagumja playing his first year in the Superliga in Monza. So
That was the year that was the Vibo year.
the year when Vibo was good, or the year when they got relegated?
No, the year that Vibo was good.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure they lost to Vibo in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. All right.
We're going down a memory lane
Yeah,
here.
we
with
are.
all of this.
Enough about Filippo Lanza. He is washed. All right. North America time. We got to talk about some things going on in North America.
Ugh.
The NCAA tournament is set. The NCAA Division 1-2 combined national championship tournament is set. It's 8 teams. UCLA, UC Irvine, Grand Canyon, and Long Beach State are the 4 teams from the West Coast that got the bids. GCU upset UCLA to win the MPSF tournament. Long Beach State beat UC Irvine to win the Big West tournament. Hawaii and BYU, thanks for participating. Their seasons are over. As they should have been. I mean, the committee obviously got this right. After BYU got upset by USC and then Hawaii got stomped at home by UC Irvine in the Big West semis, like the decision was very clear for who was going to make it into this tournament. So now we get a little over a week to preview this thing. I'm going to make a dedicated video previewing the NCAA tournament in a lot more detail. I will be there, in case you missed last week's show. I will be there a week from today. The matches are a week from tomorrow. Next Tuesday is all 4 quarterfinals. Then next Thursday is both semifinals. I will be on the call for all 6 of those games. They will all be streaming for free on NCAA.com. For free on NCAA.com. I don't know about a GeoBlock, but they are streaming for free on NCAA.com, and I will be on the mic. So
in the past, GeoBlocks has not been a thing. The only thing that I'm mad about is that there's no chat where I can openly chirp you under pseudonyms. Instead, I will be chirping you via text directly. But I will definitely be watching next week. Full day of NCAA volleyball.
Decent
I love
chance on next week's show, I'll be traveling on Monday next week, maybe during showtime. So we'll figure out with you guys when we're going to do the show. But I'm going to be courtside for a lot of this, and I'll be making some videos. For very sure, I'll be previewing the semis, because just to kind of summarize here, I project chalk in the quarterfinals.
Can we discuss some of the rankings and the seedings here?
Yeah.
Mostly, can we discuss Grand Canyon? Because that sucks. That sucks. You go out and you defeat the number 1 team, who's been ranked number one all year long. You go and win your first conference championship against that number 1 team, and then they turn around. They go, nope, it doesn't matter. We're still going to give them the number 1 seed.
That sucks.
It does. Do you think that if the roles were reversed, and that if CLA was the lower ranked team, Grand Canyon had been the number 1 team, that due to the pedigree of UCLA's program, had they beaten Grand Canyon, that may have switched?
That is an interesting question, and I don't disagree. I think that's possible. The thing is that UCLA did win the national championship last year. I don't know if that's worth anything for the committee. I don't think that it should be. It's a completely different year, different tournament. Grand Canyon was ranked number 1 for a couple weeks. Then they went out to Hawaii and got smacked by UCI and Hawaii. Then they went to UCLA about 2 weeks ago to play 2 matches and got stomped both times. So I think GCU has only 4 losses on the year. 2 of them are to UCLA. And so I like Grand Canyon. They're really good. That is a program on the rise. They absolutely deserve to be here. I think 3 is where I picked them to go. Once it all ended, I was texting with our buddy Adam Schreimer, who coaches Trinity Western, and he asked me to guess what the seating was going to be. I said Long Beach 1, UCLA 2. After Long Beach won their conference tournament, UCLA did not. But I was right about the bottom 6. I thought Grand Canyon 3, UCI 4. And that's just kind of how it came in. But what I'm really excited about is because, I'm going to pick chalk in the quarterfinals. I think UCI Penn State could be good, but Hilaire Heno is just so much better than anybody that Penn State has played all year that I would bet UCLA, UCI will be one semifinal, and Grand Canyon versus Long Beach will be the other. And I love that because it's different games. It's not those in-conference matchups that we've already seen several times this year. And that's really fun because between those 4 teams, any of them could legitimately win a national championship. This is as wide open as this tournament has ever been.
Even Belmont Abbey?
Wide open for 4 teams out of the 8.
So you're not giving any love to Penn State or Ohio State?
Ohio State, no. Penn State,
the
a
Eva
little.
And the Eva and the Miva get no love.
Penn State, a little. I do think UCI is better than them. And UCI will have a presence in the pyramid at Long Beach, so it'll feel a little more like a UCI home game.
Did they play it all this?
I don't know. I'm curious to dive in and go back through all the non-conference history of whatever happened this year as I prepare to do all my research for calling the games next week, just to see if there's any common opponents or history between UCI and Penn State. But I think that match honestly might be the only quarterfinal that isn't a sweep. I'm not sure. I need to learn I need to learn a little more about Ohio State, but I have enough respect for Grand Canyon, and kind of how I understand those teams is that Grand Canyon is sort of like just a better version of Ohio State.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I can. Yeah.
A little bit.
I see that. I see
so
where you're coming from.
Belmont Abbey, no chance. Fort Valley State, I'm very excited that they're here representing the SEAC. I'm buddies with their head coach, Larry Rather. He's from my area. He used to just dominate everybody in Chicago. He played at Ball State, but then him and his dad is his assistant at Fort Valley State down in Georgia. And he's done an amazing job with that program. They went undefeated in conference. They won the tournament easily. Unfortunately, they have no chance against UCLA. Literally no chance at all, and it'll come down to just a level of serving and passing that Fort Valley State will have completely never seen before and not be prepared for. So
yeah, I'm looking at Penn State's schedule this year, and all of their losses are coming against California schools. They did get a win against Northridge.
Nah. Northridge was okay. Northridge.
They were ranked number 16 at the time, so there's that. They did get one win against Northridge, and then they did lose to one match to IPFW as well. What's your feelings on IPFW? Are they like little brothers or like
it's a Purdue?
Strange cousins? Yeah,
I would say 90% of the Purdue student body isn't aware that IPFW exists. And I'm not okay. I'm not saying that to be mean or anything. Just like they're a satellite school in northeastern Indiana. And by the way, maybe 10 years ago, it's no longer IPFW. Now it's just PFW. It used to be like it used to be like jointly managed by Indiana University and Purdue.
Yeah,
and Indiana let it go. So now it's just a Purdue satellite campus. But yeah, they're a good program. Obviously, they've got history with like Volleyball and his whole crew. Yeah. They're not going to be contenders in the MIVA anytime soon, though.
Fun fact: I know that because is it Larry Ball?
Who?
Larry Bloys Ball's father?
Arnie Ball.
Arnie. I knew it was a E end but Arnie Ball. So he actually there's a number of Canadians that have gone through that program, like Matt Zubchevsky. But we played at the Penn State tournament in my 18 year.
I remember you.
And I had a really good game against Mizuno East. I don't remember where they're from in the last day of pool plays, and they're like our matchups, but they were like nowhere near as good as us. So I actually got to start for once. And I think I got like 6 or 7 blocks in that match. I was just dominating, and actually IPFW talked to me. And they're like, cool, we're going to watch you for the rest of the tournament. And I didn't play the rest of the tournament. So they had given me, like, after the game, they had given me a whole bunch of stuff and like, yeah, we'll talk to you. And I like emailed them and I'd like didn't hear from them again. And I remember like one of my best friends was touring states for soccer scholarships, and she was like, oh, I might go to IPFW. And I was like, cool, me too, if they ever answer me. And they never did. I sent them my video, and I don't think they were impressed.
Everett, Delorme, and the Miva, that would have been something. Anyway, yeah, I'm excited to dig into a whole lot of NCAA this week. I'm going to be back with, we'll do a show here on the channel, and then I'll do a bunch of stuff once I'm there on site. But yeah, it's going to be a good tournament. It starts a week from tomorrow. We'll have plenty of time to lead up to it and talk about it. And yeah, y'all all over the world, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to watch these games for free, which is great. Speaking of games you can watch for free on NCAA.com, I like to give a shout out this time every year to the NCAA Division III men's volleyball tournament. It's very similar to the college game up in Canada. College, not university, so not youth sports. What is it? CCAA?
Oh, you're learning. You're learning. Good for you. Yeah, I would absolutely say, biased wise, I would say the CCAA might be a little bit stronger than D3, but you guys know that I love the CCAA and I love frog jump volleyball on Instagram. They give a lot of shout outs and a lot of love to the D3 game, and so that's all I know about D3 volleyball is from frog jump.
Yeah, so they've already been. They kind of had like a 4 region set up for a 16-team NCAA tournament, which is good. It's exactly what the D1 tournament should be. But anyway, It's down to the final 4. It's Friday and Sunday. Semis Friday, final Sunday. Stevens is the number 1 team in the country. They're from New Jersey. I think they won it last year, if I remember right. They've won it recently. That's a very good program. They're taking on Cal Lutheran, who's basically a brand new team. There used to be exactly one program, D3 program west of the Mississippi River, and it was UC Santa Cruz. So now Cal Lutheran exists, and they're good. So that's cool. So Stevens against Cal Lutheran Friday, and then Vassar against NYU is an all New York battle. Vassar's they're from Poughkeepsie, like an hour north of New York City. And NYU obviously is in Manhattan. And so I'm sure they've played a bunch this year and they should know each other pretty well. So that's going to be cool. And then the winners will play for the title on Sunday. I always like to watch these games. These are fun games. There are good players. There will guys that will go overseas and have good careers.
Stevens did win last year. They beat North Central out of Illinois 3-1 in the final.
I remember that. I know North Central quite well. They're in Naperville, which is just a suburb outside of here.
Yeah. I bet you wanted them to recruit you, and they just never did.
It didn't exist when I was coming out, and nobody was recruiting me. I didn't get remotely good at volleyball until long after I got to college.
I just had IPFW, McGill, and RMC, and those who know youth sports volleyball knows that's not much. And then Vassar also lost in the semifinals to North Central last year.
Yeah, Vassar, I think, was the number 1 team in the country last year and got upset by North Central.
It looks like that was the case based off of just looking at the bracket.
So yeah, D3, those games should be on NCAA.com for free as well. So go check that out. Speaking of my collegiate career, I got to do a little trip down memory lane this past weekend, as I was in Kansas City for the NCVF National Championships. The college club game is awesome. It's so underrated. This is one of the best events in all of volleyball. This is probably the best volleyball crowd in North America around the final here, which we played in this big arena in Kansas City. The only
men's volleyball.
Men's, yeah. They're like Nebraska women's, for example, is better. But like the only energy that I can compare this to is Wapaka and the Manhattan Beach 6-man. Like the energy of those events is similar to NCVF Nationals, and it's so awesome. And I got to call all the games. We did 7 championship matches in a row on Saturday, which was ridiculous. It's kind of why my voice is still recovering. Shout out to my Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue actually won a national championship, albeit in a lower division, but they did still win a national championship.
No, they won their division. That's not a national championship.
Yeah, they won their division. What else do you want them to do? They got placed in the second division, and they won.
How does this work in terms of like divisions?
So top division in men's Division 1, as they call it, is 48 teams, and there's a committee of who decides who gets to go to those. They allot only a certain number of teams per region. There are only 12 teams from the Midwest, and Purdue did not have a good enough regular season to get into that, which I mean,
Okay, so
me
those are
and
the national championship teams. It's just no difference than a club national championship. If you win like Div 2 Tier 3, it's not a national championship.
all you can do is win the division where you're placed, and that's what Purdue did. So you can make whatever jokes you want. I was happy for them. They had a hell of a run through the bracket too. They won every game 2-1. Everything was close. But speaking of the Division One AA national championship, this is something that I've never seen before in NCVF history. Loyola Chicago, obviously Loyola's NCAA team is known. They have a pretty good club team as well. Loyola Chicago's club team won Division One AA nationals last year. So they won that second division. Then this year, they got moved up. They were seated about 25th in the country coming in, and they won.
Whoa.
They won 2 national championships in a row in 2 different divisions. To get moved up to D1 for the first time and to win is crazy. And they beat the defending champions, Wisconsin-Madison, in the final in an all-time awesome game. All-time awesome game.
It must be a pretty interesting dynamic for the schools that have men's volleyball versus the schools that don't, right? Because there must be so many schools like Wisconsin-Madison, which is a massive school,
huge school.
Right? One of the biggest schools that, like you just had a lot of guys who played volleyball in like whether it was like club or high school, and then didn't go on because there's so few opportunities in the United States to play that just didn't play, and then they go on to play on these teams versus schools like Loyola Chicago where people go to play Division I volleyball, and everyone, I'm assuming a lot of those people would have maybe tried to walk on and stuff like that.
Yeah, that definitely happened. So I did a bunch of interviews on the NCVF YouTube channel over the weekend, including I randomly got to interview the mayor of the city of Kansas City.
I do love that picture. I
so
do love
cool.
that picture, and I messaged you on it where he's like talking to you, and you're just like focused on the game, not paying attention to what he says.
I was looking at the camera. I was being professional. I was looking at the camera. I wasn't commentating a game at that point. But shout out to Mayor Quentin Lucas of Kansas City. That was really cool. But yeah, I talked to one of the guys who is in charge of seeding the men's Division I tournament at NCVF, and I asked him about like his thoughts on the dynamic of club teams that also have men's Division I programs at their university, because there definitely is some overlap there. Like you said, guys will go to like a Loyola or a Penn State is a great example and hope to try and walk on to the D1 team. And if that doesn't work out, then they'll play club and they'll be good. But also there's a thing where you can have players on your club team who used to play varsity. You can only have 2. You can have a maximum of 2. You can't have more.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to know, like, if you're a red shirt or you're a practice player, like if you're a non-rostered player, or if you're a player who's maybe like you're on the 18, but you never make the 12 or 14, like you're never getting a jersey. Like how does that work out? It's interesting because we don't have this in Canada, right? We have the only 2 men's club teams that I'm aware of are at University of Ottawa and Carleton University, which are both in Ottawa, and neither of them have tournaments, but they play American tournaments against they play against.
They go down and play in the ECVA, which is like our East Coast conference over there, and so yeah, they'll come to some of the tournaments. But yeah, like the point you made earlier, there are so few opportunities in the United States for men to play legitimate intercollegiate volleyball that the level of NCVF club volleyball is very high. It's very high because there's so few chances for kids to go play for real. Or there are some that could have done that, but choose to go to certain universities just for the academic or like the overall experience. Like Wisconsin, like you said, is a good example. Massive school. They pull a bunch of kids from the state of Wisconsin, which is really starting to produce a lot of good volleyball players, and from Illinois as well. There are a ton of kids from Chicagoland that go up to Madison. And so like there's actually one kid that I heard that was one of the Wisconsin's outsides that was starting in the final. He was a junior. He got recruited to go to Loyola and play varsity after last year. He was that good of a collegiate club player that Loyola tried to recruit him. And that happens. Like we were talking about Chaumont earlier. I wanted to give a shout out to Dan McDonnell, a middle from the U.S. national team, who is just, I think he announced his retirement. He was playing for Chaumont this year. He did that. He was a club player at the University of Arizona.
He went to UCI, right?
Then got recruited by John Sparrow to go to UCI, won a national championship, and had like a 15-year overseas career. So like that happens in the NCVF. There are players of that caliber. And that final between Wisconsin and Loyola was all-time great. So
love that.
go back and watch it on the NCVF channel if you want. It's our same production that we did at Norseca, so the stream quality is quite good.
Love it.
Fun time too. Real fun time. It was good to be back.
How many beers you drink?
Enough.
It's too cryptic.
It was good to see some old faces. And it'll be in Phoenix next year. I will also be there. Everett, you should come down. It's very fun.
Oh, dude, honestly, like that's because I have a place to stay.
I know you do.
I could easily
think about it next April. All right. That's a show, people. Thanks very much for watching. Like I said, we'll let you guys know when the show is going to be next week because I'll be traveling next Monday for men's NCAA. But we got a big week ahead. We got Plusliga finals, Bundesliga finals, Scudetto finals on both sides, LNV finals, if that's the sort of thing that you're into. Obviously, join the Volleyball Source Discord, and we'll be chatting all about all this good stuff. It's almost crazy, Everett. National team season's almost here. It's almost
so
here. We've got like maybe
close.
2 more episodes of club season, and that's like it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Still got Champions League. Still got Champions League in a little less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I need to do stuff for the Canadian roster this week now that hopefully I have a little bit more time because I wanted to do that last week and then I got swamped by work.
A good problem to have for your wallet, like you mentioned earlier. All right. We love you, people. Thanks for watching. Give this video a last second thumbs up if you're into that sort of thing. And yeah.
We love you all. Don't call me a racist, please. I promise I love you all.
Thanks, people. We'll see you in the Discord.
Bye.